Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is your brother Keenan Lambert coming back with another video. In this video, I'm going to talk about being black here in Mexico. Now, this video is not coming from the perspective of someone who's a local. This video is coming from the perspective of someone who's a US passport holder, has US money, and that has been here extensively over the years.
Give me the island breeze, cool them vibes, coconut jelly, peas and rice, house and land, and we sharp like a knife, green in abundance, real love around me, yeah. You want to know where we coming from? Say you want come look for me, yeah. If you're willing to have some fun, I could keep you company. Move that way, come girl, blunder right by me, squeeze that tight.
Now, the reason why I'm doing this video is because I want to sort of dispel rumors about Mexico and also encourage people to visit it if they haven't been here before and give you the quick and dirty, honest truth about how I feel as a black man here in Mexico. Now, I'm going to try to be as PC as possible when I'm giving this video because I don't want it to get struck down, and also I don't want anybody to feel uncomfortable. However, at the same time, we're going to get into it and we're going to discuss some real ish. At this current moment in time, I've been to a couple different places in Mexico. The entire Caribbean coast, Mexico City, Tijuana, and the Pacific coast in Acapulco. So I'd say by and large, the majority of experiences that I've had here have been awesome. I mean, people will notice that you're a tourist, you're dressed differently, you're shaved differently, you don't look local. The majority of Afro-Mexicans that are here look some degree of mixed. So for that reason, they know off the bat for the majority of black people that come here that you are instantly, or they know instantly that you are not Mexican. However, people don't necessarily approach you unless you're in a tourist area. So if you're in Cancun walking around, people will approach you to try to sell you something. Yes, absolutely. It happens the same in Acapulco as well. You're walking down the street, you look like a tourist, people will try to get you to buy things. In Tijuana, a little bit less so because there are people of African descent who live in Tijuana. I don't know if you guys actually know, but there's a huge or growing Haitian population in Tijuana, and you also have people from the Spanish-speaking Caribbean that are in Tijuana as well. However, once you step away from the tourist areas, like you just step off of the main drags and you go into the neighborhoods, you are gonna get a different feel. And you guys have seen the channel, you guys seen how I operate, so you know that I'm going off the main drag, I'm getting into the neighborhoods, I'm talking to people. Now, there's a common idea that, you know, once you go off into the neighborhoods, people are going to be sort of standoffish with you and sort of upset that you're in their neighborhood. It's actually the opposite. People are very welcoming and they are glad that you're there and they want to share their experiences with you and learn from you. Now, to keep it a buck, I have some of the best experiences when I'm traveling, when I get off the tourist area and I go into the neighborhoods and talk to local people. Now, there are some instances where you might have to deal with some ignorance, right? Or, you know, just maybe some slightly uncomfortable situations, but those are 100% rare. I'm gonna give you an example, actually. There was a gentleman who either directly or indirectly referred to me as a N-bomb, as a N-I-G-G-E-R. I don't know if I can say it for the YouTube algorithm. I don't want them to block this video. But yeah, there was a situation where a guy referred to me as a N-word. Now, it wasn't like, yo, what up, my... No, it wasn't like that. It was a little bit different. He was actually in the process of trying to talk to these young ladies. There are two ladies that are together. There were a couple, I'm not sure if they were married or not. And he pulled up to them and he was essentially trying to spit game. And what they told him was like, hey, no, we actually like brothers. So we're actually here looking for brothers. So instead of, you know, walking away with, you know, with his, how'd you say? Instead of walking away with his pride, you know, completely destroyed, what he did was he then brought them over to me and he said, hey bro, I am not and these girls are looking for, so here you are, it's up to you, whatever you want to do. And I would say to you that I made the most of that situation. However, that's not what we're talking about here. Actually, you know what? Maybe I should lean into talking about that because I know you guys want to know, right? What is dating like here in Mexico for a brother or for a sister? You know, I can't necessarily lean into what it looks like for sisters. However, I can say what it looks like for brothers, okay? People here love black people. Like, I'll say it again. People here love black people, and there are some situations where you might feel a little bit fetishized. Okay, there are some people here that kind of have a black person, black man fetish, and they will seek to satisfy that fetish. So some of you might feel a little bit uncomfortable with that. There might be some of you who might be with that and might lean into that, but it's definitely a thing here in Mexico where people like black people and they're more than willing to engage in relationships with brothers, and probably the same for sisters as well, but I just don't know very well. So just to cleanly answer the question, have I ever experienced racism here in Mexico? I can say that's a clean, flat no. However, I think it might be imperative to listen to the perspective and the experiences of Afro-Mexicans who grew up here. Now, you have Afro-Mexicans from the Pacific side, Guerrero, Oaxaca, and then you also have Afro-Mexicans in Veracruz state. Then you also have Afro-Mexicans, who have maybe a parent that came from abroad, and actually there's one more set. There's Afro-Mexicans who moved maybe up from Central American nations, Belize, Nicaragua, Guatemala, and settled in the Caribbean coast. You have to listen to their perspective, as they will have a more complete, a more thorough experience when it comes to being a local, growing up here, and staying here. Now, so there are a lot of people who repeat the narrative that women in other countries are more submissive or more feminine, and their culture sort of caters to men. Now, I can't necessarily say that that's the case for Mexican people. I don't necessarily even like talking like that or uttering such ideas that somehow women in the States are a certain way and women here are another way. But what I can say is that people here are very family oriented. People are very much family first. You see that when you go around in different places. However, there are places that have a lot of young, urban, professional Mexicans, and in those places, people are sort of disconnected from the bulk of their family. So for that reason, they're very much milling about and very much open to having a brunch date on a Sunday, which is generally family day here in Mexico. Actually, when I got here to Acapulco, the individuals downstairs, once they learned that I was a U.S. passport holder, I'm an American, they were very happy to see me. They said, "Wow, we can't believe that you weren't scared coming here. We thank you for coming, and we want you to come back. We want you to have a great time." And that actually feels very refreshing, and I feel like it sort of reflects the values of Mexico and of Mexicans. In Cancun, Playa del Carmen, and Tulum, I feel like it's a different situation because the place is literally inundated with tourists. So for that reason, you might feel like you're valued a little bit less. You might feel that people are trying to take advantage of you. Well, because they are, because you're a tourist and they're trying to extract as much money as possible. But in other parts of Mexico, it feels different. It feels a lot different. There was actually a situation maybe a couple of days ago where I was walking down the street and a $50 bill fell out of my pocket. I think I went in to take out my phone and it flew out of my pocket. And a vendor literally ran me down. She was actually trying to get me to buy stuff earlier that day, but I didn't. And she ran me down in order to give that bill back to me. And that just really reflects the values of Mexicans. Had that have happened in Cancun or Playa del Carmen, Tulum, I don't necessarily know if that would be the case. But here in another part of Mexico, in Acapulco, I feel like you really get those homey Mexican vibes. Now, to answer the question about violence. Now, in the media back home in the States, I don't know if you guys hear it in Canada, UK, Europe, etc. There is a lot of narrative around the violence that is here in Mexico. Now, there is violence, it does happen, but when you're in the tourist area, you tend to see it a heck of a lot less. If anything, you might see the police perpetuating forms of violence that you don't necessarily see other people going on with. There was actually an incident where I was walking along a strip in Playa del Carmen, and there was a guy who appeared like, I don't know, maybe he might have been into some things, okay, facial tattoos, etc. He was just walking along the street, walking towards me. You see some police people jump out of a van, throw him up against a storefront and throw him to the ground. Okay, there wasn't on any, hey, you're under arrest, or hey, is this your name, you're under arrest. No, they pulled up to him and they were forwardly aggressive with him. So the way how violence works here in Mexico, from what I've seen and what I've heard though, is generally what happens is in areas that are, there's some sort of struggle for control, that's when it's usually violent. When there's one person who is in control, or one organization who is in control of the trade of certain items, an area tends to be safe. That's why when you're in Playa del Carmen, for the most part, it is super safe, it's super organized. As a tourist, as somebody who's living there, you're not necessarily going to feel it. When it comes to visiting Mexico, for those of you who are interested in coming, and that's why the YouTube algorithm brought this video to you, I want you guys to not be afraid. I want you guys to mix it up, right? Maybe you have a week or 2 weeks and your point of entry is Mexico City. Maybe your point of entry is Cancun. Do not spend all of your time in one place. I want you guys to be confident and switch it up, go to different destinations. If you buy flights in advance, I'm talking like $20, $30 for you guys to go ahead and jump into a different city, right? On this current trip that I'm on, I'm just bouncing around all over Mexico for the low, okay? And I want you guys to get that deep diversity of experience if you so choose to come here, because it's a beautiful thing. Mexico is more than Mexico City, it's more than Cancun, it's more than just one city. And also something that you have to keep in mind, because Mexico is so big, there are different cultures that feed into this thing that is Mexico. Mexico is not a monolith, right? Understand that diversity is a thing here in Mexico. Now, for you guys that may be saying, well, Keenan, you know what? I'm not going to go to Mexico and have a relationship because I'm not attracted to Mexican women. Well, I want you to understand that there's a lot of diversity here in Mexico. There's a lot of different looks here in Mexico. Maybe you're just referring to the mestizo look, but there are many different looks here in Mexico. You have white Mexicans, you have mestizo Mexicans, as I just mentioned. You have mulatto Mexicans. You have Mexicans that are a mixture of native, Caucasian, and Afro. Then you have Mexicans who have significantly Asian look because of the years of migration of folks that would become Mexican coming out of the Asian countries, the East Asian countries. Okay, so there are a lot of different looks here in Mexico, and for those of you that have a particular type, you're very likely to find it here in Mexico at some point. I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'll catch you guys in the next one, the next one, and the next one. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Good vibes only, keep that around me, keep that around me. Let me build it. Move that waist one time skillfully. Girl, you know you look so fine naturally. Real vibes only, keep that around me.